Every so often I find myself with that dreaded gamer block. A library of games sits in front of me and I have more than I could ever ask for. A list of videos that I want to make, but I still don't have the drive to press that play button on anything.
It's something that we all experience, no doubt, but as a content creator who feels the constant pressure to keep that subscription feed fed and not fall behind, it definitely contributes to the stress.
But today, to beat that feeling, I picked up a long-time recommendation from my best friend Nick. He doesn't recommend games to me often. I'm usually the one telling him about the stuff I'm playing, but there have consistently been two that he's brought up: the Ori duology and LA Noire. You can tell by the title and thumbnail which one I ended up choosing, but maybe at some point I'll pick up my cigarettes and bowler hat to see what's up with Rockstar's cult hit. But Ori and the Blind Forest, I really don't have a lot of memories with this one. I've actually played a few hours into this game long ago when it first launched back in 2015. I remember the game was pretty, it had gorgeous visuals, and the platforming felt really fluid. I even have the save file right here. Well, I won't be needing this anymore.
I'm very excited to see what Nick saw and also see what made everyone shower this game with 9s and 10s across the board. I want to fall in love the same way that everyone else did. This is Ori and the Blind Forest.
A great storm has shaken the forest of Nibel. During this clash of wind and water, a newborn guardian spirit named Ori falls from the Great Spirit Tree, landing in the nearby Swallow's Nest and being discovered by a loving creature named Naru. She took Ori in and raised her as her own. For a time, things were tight as shit. Naru and Ori were inseparable, but one night, the spirit tree, calling out to Ori, filled the night sky in an overwhelming light. After this event, the forest began to wither. Ori, weak from the lack of any food, rested as Naru scavenged tirelessly, but with no luck. Eventually, Ori rose and was able to find a scarce amount of fruit for her and Naru, but it was too late. Naru wouldn't eat or move. Unsure of what to do, light fading, Ori crawled until she couldn't crawl any further, withering away herself and passing on. But the spirit tree said nah, that didn't count, and uses its light to revive Ori. Shortly after, Ori comes across Sane, the eyes of the spirit tree. Together, Ori and Sane go on a journey to restore the forest to its former glory, ridding the corruption while dodging the wrath of Kuro, a terrible owl creature who seems to only want the destruction of Ori and the spirit tree's light. The duo continue to overcome many obstacles like the mischievous, "Hey, give that back, you little amoeba!" This is Gumo, a creature who continues to tail Ori and Sane, but more so keeps to the shadows. And thanks to the light of the tree spirit, Ori learns of Kuro's anger. The light that the spirit tree used to search for Ori on that fateful night killed Kuro's newly hatched chicks. All but one. This is why Sane, or the Light of the World tree, was snuffed out. It was Kuro stopping this from happening again. Gumo eventually finds out that the rest of his kind has fallen, and in an attempt to pay forward an act of kindness, Gumo uses a legendary treasure of his people to revive Naru. The two of them then make their way to the top of the mountain as Kuro has Ori within her clutches. Naru, seeing Ori for the first time in a long time, holds her tightly. This shows Kuro that Ori has someone who cares for her just as much as she cared for her children. In an act of sacrifice, Kuro takes the light of the spirit tree and returns it to the top, which creates another blast of light that disintegrates Kuro. Damn, did she need to die like that? Life returns to the Nibel forest in due time, allowing Naru and Ori to live happily ever after with Kuro's final egg. I like this story. I think it's really cute. I mean, what is there to say? I think the relationship between Ori and Naru is cute. I love the paternal bond you get from them. I've heard that some people got really upset and cried at certain points during this story, and I believe that. Kuro losing her child and learning that her actions are entirely motivated by her love of her last remaining child is really heartbreaking. I feel for her, but I don't really empathize with her. Same goes for the other characters. None of them have a lot of depth. They have their archetype of mischievous loner or pure-hearted innocent angel, but they're all pretty one-dimensional when you look at them, leading to my interest not really being as strong as it would for other characters. There's definitely a deeper message behind all the characters, something like you never know what someone's going through, so we shouldn't judge them too harshly. All of the characters are dealing with things that go unsaid to the other characters, but the player is aware of them. The player is also aware of how there isn't really a villain. The wind is what knocked Ori from the tree, causing the spirit tree to flash the bright light, killing Kuro's children. I would say that Kuro's crash out is totally justified, but I also think the story is just as complex as it needs to be. I would rather have Ori's more cut and dry and simple story over something like Dust and Elysian Tales story, and if you've ever played Dust, you know how overcooked the narrative gets towards the end. But I truly think Ori's story is carried by the visuals. Back in 2015, Ori and the Blind Forest was a first for its kind. Never had we seen a 2D game with such an impressive painted style. It's the way in which the environments all look like oil paintings that seem to move and sway as you gradually pass through them. All the characters, like Ori and all the enemies, they're all made of 3D models, but they blend so seamlessly with what I assume are these hand-painted backgrounds. Again, it's the way in which this world moves with itself that makes it so easy to fawn over. The visuals truly speak for themselves. The only thing that I have an issue with is the use of light. Most of the time it's perfectly fine, but there are moments when using Ori's upgraded attacks on an enemy that takes a lot of punishment that the explosions and light effects overwhelm the screen. And even when interacting with certain pieces of the environment, Ori can sometimes look like she's physically swapped places with a lens flare.
Really, what else do I say? There's a reason that when on the topic of this game, the visuals are often the first thing that's brought up. It looks incredible, and you don't need me to tell you that.
In the intervening time since this game has come out, we have had several other games that have come and gone that have taken the simple formula that Ori created and added other elements to it. Things that make the combat more intense, give puzzles more of a focus, all while keeping the spirit of Ori's defining art style. I've played a few of these and loved them dearly, but how does the progenitor, so to speak, compare to what it inspired? Ori and the Blind Forest is a Metroidvania action platformer. As you play and explore the Nibel Forest, Ori's pool of abilities will expand and grow. You'll get the usual suspects like a double jump, a wall cling, a stomp. Ori and the Blind Forest isn't a very long game. I was surprised at the rate at which I unlocked these abilities. But then, when the credits rolled after about 9 hours, it made sense. As far as the moveset goes, I really like the abilities we're given. The most notable ability was the bash. I probably like this move because it's Ori's only defensive tool. By pressing Y near an enemy, object, or even a projectile, time will stop. Then, after aiming the arrow where you want Ori to go, the target will be pushed away from her and Ori will be launched in that direction. This move alone brings the game up a couple points in my book. The interactions it creates with the enemies and the world are so damn cool. Sending enemy projectiles back at their sender or using another enemy's projectile to kill a different enemy. Waiting for an enemy to throw a projectile that acts as a launching point for you to reach a higher area. Redirecting an explosive enemy through a breakable object to open a new path. Slamming an enemy to the ground and then off that bounce using the stomp ability to take them out. The other options like tapping the X button to shoot basic wisps at enemies or charging up an explosion to break an environmental roadblock are cool, and I especially like the charge jump. It allows you to jump higher than usual and even break through some breakable ceilings. But I really liked how you can combine it with the wall cling and shoot across hazardous tight squeezes. It's not that the rest of the moveset is bad or anything, it's just that all of that stuff has been done before.
Now that I think about it, the bash reminds me of an old proof of concept that I saw for a Sonic fan game. I think it was called Sonic Freedom, and in that demo, Sonic had an ability that was identical to the bash. Just a random thought, let's move on.
I might be giving off the wrong impression here, but I assure you, the game plays really well and is a fun time. As you take down enemies, you'll be accumulating skill points that are used to upgrade things like Ori's firepower, as well as things like the distance at which collectibles are attracted. Again, upgrades and progression aren't going to surprise anyone who has played this type of game before. But personally, the platforming is where this game shines the brightest. Ori's control might be a little floaty to some, but I think it feels great. The control you feel really does just increase the more movement upgrades you collect. Before grabbing things like the double jump and the bash, you can feel a little helpless in the air. But those two abilities in particular give you more options to course correct or save yourself after you've left solid ground. The platforming challenges are very well put together. I did vastly prefer my time traversing the typical game world over a few of the slow segments. The moments when I was wall jumping, bashing, and floating through the corrupted landscapes were awesome. The 2 times where Ori has to carry orbs around, I think my enthusiasm dropped a bit. The first instance, in the Misty Woods, is just some simple dodging, slow-moving, predictable projectiles as you make your way back to an altar. The anti-gravity platforming challenge of the Forlorn Ruins was fun, but again, my movement was cut back.
Ori is carrying this ball, and whatever surface she's standing on becomes the way gravity falls. It's fun making those big leaps, and I understand this is more of a pacing mechanism to slow the adventure down so it can ramp back up later, but I preferred when I had my freedom. The feeling of leaping around is wonderful, and the movement couldn't get much better, I feel. Again, these are far from bad, and they're pretty short when compared to the rest of the game's runtime, but I don't think I'd miss them if they were gone in the sequel. Readability in some of the environmental hazards could be a bit stronger too. The one-hit kill obstacles in particular are frustrating. The beams that you have to dodge and Sorrow's Pass had me gripping my controller. Same thing when chasing Gumo across these laser vents after he grabs the water stone. They shoot a predictable instant kill laser across to the adjacent wall. We've seen this stuff all the time in games like Mega Man, but with it being an instant kill hazard, I expect there to be some extra lead in. Maybe some purple particle effects, a flashing light, something. But instead, on my first time chasing this guy, I assumed it was safe. The later areas do have similar obstacles, like these enemies that'll shoot an instant kill laser, but the laser lags behind Ori's position, even at its start, so if you can stay on the move, it's not a problem. And easily, the worst offenders are these chase segments. After finishing the temples, there are these brief, high-octane moments where Ori has to escape imminent death. I get that these are supposed to be challenging, but I feel like these take it too far, with several gotcha moments that your average player won't know about until they've already died. If it had just been a one-off moment where you're surprised, I would have looked past it. But it's not. It's literally every single one of the temples that pull this. Bullshit. I really hope that this is gone in the sequel. But after death, I have to restart back at my last checkpoint 5 minutes ago in the previous area. The save system was something I had a rude awakening with. Throughout the world, there are these energy crystals. They fill your energy cells, of which you can also find upgrades for as you go along. Anyway, energy can be used for a few things. That charge attack I mentioned earlier, opening energy doors that require a certain amount of charges, but most importantly, you have to have an energy cell to create a soul link. Soul link is a funny way of saying save point. You have total control over where you can create your own checkpoints, which is a blessing and also a curse. In the beginning of the game, I was terrible about hoarding my energy for the charge attack and especially those doors. Don't do that. Those doors are so few and far between, you'll never be scrambling for energy to meet the requirements. My advice is, don't use the charge attack. It's not necessarily bad, but you can do just as much with the basic wisps in the early game. And then by late game, the bash and stomp combo is just better and also more fun to use. So my issue was that I would make so much progress and then die by something silly and have to replay all of what I just did, which also includes collecting any secrets that you had found in that time. This is totally a me problem, but I'm telling you now, so that you understand where I'm coming from when I say Ori and the Blind Forest is just easy. Not in the sense that the game isn't difficult to get through, it can get a little tense, and me hoarding those energy cells and not saving often enough was also an issue for me, someone who gets annoyed by playing the same content over again. When I say this game is easy, I'm referring to the game's simplicity. It's just comfy. It strikes a genuinely impressive balance between being an engaging platformer with really creative sections of challenge and a relaxing exploration of a world that has seen better days. I even attempted to complete this game. I had most of the map cleaned up before I went to tackle the final area. I figured I could just load the save again after I finished the game or whatever. Come to find out, Ori and the Blind Forest was Moon Studios' first game. They made a phenomenal first outing, truly stellar, but they were very green when it came to a lot of other things. One of those things being locking your save file after you beat the story. Yep, since I finished the game, if I want to get 100%, I would have to go through the game again on another save file. This was rectified in the definitive edition of the game that was released a year later in April of 2016. You can no longer purchase the original version of the game, so if you're wanting to give Ori a shot, you won't have to be disappointed like me if you want to get the 100%. It's really not a big deal, honestly. My completionist compulsion isn't as crazy as some people I know. Small tangent aside, combat in Ori helps keep the player's attention just well enough. Can it be engaging? Yeah, sure it can. Bashing an enemy to the ground and then stomping on them and finishing the job with some basic wisp shots is great. But for most encounters, you'll just be tapping left and right, jumping occasionally and tapping the X button. It's automated, and I don't mind it too much. I think the slow, almost mindless feel of combat fits for a game that's so relaxing otherwise. The story is also sweet and tugs at the heartstrings. I wouldn't say I ever got attached to any of the characters. I like Ori, Gumo, Naru. They're nice characters that you can root for, but I I never found myself getting wrapped up into their plights emotionally. I never really empathize with them because they aren't super developed as characters. The story they tell is good, but it's a stretch to say it's compelling. Or maybe I'm a f***ing monster who just doesn't feel anything. Who's to say? And if you're still here at the end of the video, I truly thank you. I know most of you watching are thinking, who the hell is reviewing Ori and the Blind Forest in 2025? And that would be me. Hi. But this was one of those times where I just wanted to scratch an itch that I've had for a while, and surprisingly, Ori was a great little palate cleanser. Next time you see me, I will be heading back to my Dragon Quest retrospective with Dragon Quest IV. If you're interested in that and would like a refresher, I would invite you to check out my videos on the first 3 games in preparation. You should also drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to be notified when that goes live. And if you want to go a step further than just subscribing, you can head down to the description and find links to the CPG community Discord server and my Patreon. If you join over there, you'll gain access to perks like uncensored and ad-free versions of my videos, as well as Patreon exclusive videos. And speaking of, I would like to thank my $10 patrons, WhiteGhost117 and NikkiCoon99. Thank you boys so much. I'd give you the biggest hug if I could right now. But anyway, I appreciate you for watching. So thanks for stopping by and have a great day.